This is the Dark Horse style rear spoiler in gloss black, available for all 2024 and newer fastback Mustangs. Now you guys should be checking out this option for your 7th gen if you'd like to go with a factory inspired option to deliver that Dark Horse styling, of course, here, but with the convenience of being pre-painted and ready to install right out of the box, all for right around that low $200 price point. All right, some big features to consider here with the factory-inspired Dark Horse option is that it's going to be, first and foremost, a super affordable option for your S650 at home. Not only that, but the fact that this particular option is given that pre-painted gloss black finish right out of the box makes it a big time perk, as you can literally unbox this thing, install it on your ride the same day without having to get anything prepped or painted to color match your ride. Now, getting back to the Dark Horse styling here, personally, I really dig this option as I feel like it offers the most aggressive factory styling for this particular gen, but without looking like something that you might see in the next Fast and Furious movie. Now, if you have a base spoiler car or really nothing at all, this is certainly a great way to really crank up the appearance in the rear, and again, do so at a very affordable price point. All right, getting into our construction block, and what you're going to be looking at first and foremost, guys, is a spoiler that has been built using OEM Ford CAD data to help produce an option that is not only true to the factory Dark Horse styling, but also something that's going to fit like a factory spoiler as well, thanks to the mounting locations being in the factory spots. Now, from there, the spoiler is constructed from a very durable and lightweight ABS plastic before being finished off in that gloss black paint here, which again, for the price point, very appealing because this thing is ready to party right out of the box. Now, if you wanted to consider a different option, we do sell a few different versions of this spoiler back on the site, in addition to a few others for your S650. So as always, feel free to check out the rest of our selection before making your final call. Now, price point for the Dark Horse style spoiler will land right around 200 bucks, give or take a little bit here, guys, which does make this one of the most affordable spoilers for your S650 at home, at least at the time of this video. All right, last but not least, let's get into our installation portion of today's video. I do want to mention the fact that the spoiler does ship in a few different parts. So obviously you have the main portion here, in addition to 3 separate pieces that will sort of act as your pedestal portion. Now, the site is going to call this a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you an hour or 2 to complete from start to finish. But now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, plastic pry tool, clip remover tool, 10mm ratcheting wrench, an extension, T15 torque socket, and 7 and 10mm sockets. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a spoiler on our Mustang, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is pop our trunk. We're gonna have to remove this trunk liner. This is just held in by a bunch of push clips, and then these we're gonna screw out. So I'm gonna start with these 2, just twist them to the left like a normal screw. And then we can pop off this cover for a trunk latch. Just get behind it. Slide that off, and then just take a clip remover tool and pop out all of the clips here. And then just angle this release cable, get it out from around this wire harness and remove it. Now, on each side of our trunk, we have this rubber plug that's hiding a 10mm bolt behind it. So just pull out that plug and then take a 10mm socket and remove this bolt. Be careful not to drop it into the trunk once you remove it. Do that same thing on the other side. Now we're gonna remove this 10mm nut in the center of our trunk. Grab a 10mm socket to do so. I'm just gonna loosen it up and then spin it off the rest of the way by hand so I don't drop it into the trunk. So now we're just gonna pull up to remove our spoiler, release the clips. Next, we're gonna go into these 4 holes. We have 4 more 10mm nuts. So we're gonna take a 10mm socket to remove those. Be very careful with these as well when you go to pull them out so that you don't drop them back into here. And then do that same thing on this side. And now on each side, we have these 2 7mm bolts. So we're gonna take a 7mm socket to remove those. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now we're gonna remove our deck lid panel. We're gonna have to pry this off. There is some double-sided tape under it, so I'm gonna use a plastic pry tool. Now we do have a connector for the camera, so don't yank this backwards. Just work slow and we'll disconnect that. Now we can go ahead and press in on this tab to release the connector on our camera. And then we have 2 clips that will get a clip remover tool to pop out. And then we can fully remove our deck lid panel. Now we need to remove the 6 T15 Torx bolts that are holding our inner structure together. Just grab your T15 Torx socket and we'll start removing these. And then we can start prying back on this piece. It's held in by a few clips. And then we can pop that out. So now we need to mount up this center stand to our spoiler. Now we're gonna be using these holes on the bottom to put our bolt and socket through. Get your bolt sticking out of these holes up top, and then we'll thread those into the rib nuts in the bottom of our spoiler. Now you could put this in your socket and put some tape around it to hold it in if you want to go from the top down. I'm just going to go from the bottom up. I'm going to get my bolt sticking through there, and then I can flip this upside down and thread that into the rib nut. And then I'm just going to do that a few more times. I'm going to flip that upside down and get it through the hole and thread it in. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And now we're going to do that same thing on the opposite side. Now once you have all 4 of those bolts started, take your 10mm socket and tighten them down. Now next we need to install our end pieces onto our spoiler. We're going to be using those same bolts that we did for our centerpiece. We've got 2 holes on the outside that are going to thread into those rib nuts. So now take your bolt in a 10mm socket, stick it through the hole, lay your piece down, start threading it into that nut. And then throw that socket on a ratchet, tighten those down, and do the same thing on the other side. So now we're going to mount our spoiler to our deck lid. So we're going to lift this on top of our spoiler. We have 3 bolt holes in the middle here, and then 2 on each side that we're going to be threading our bolts with the lock washer and flat washer into. So I'm gonna get started on the 3 in the middle. I'm just loosely threading everything in until I have all of my holes lined up. Now on the ends, in this larger hole, we're going to be putting down the spacer, then threading our bolt through that. We have the hole behind it here, and then we have that same setup on this side. So now we're going to go back and tighten down all of our hardware, and we're going to start in the middle with a 10mm socket and work my way out. Now on this one, we're going to need a 10mm ratcheting wrench. So now we're going to reinstall this inner skin into our deck lid. First, we need to reinstall our camera. So I'm just going to slide that into place just like that. And then we'll slide this inner skin into place. Now we're going to take all of those Torx screws and thread those in. And now take your T15 Torx socket and tighten those down. Now we're going to reattach this panel to our trunk. First we need to grab this wire harness, plug that back into our camera, and engage our 2 clips, and then just line up your bolts to the holes and slide it into place. And now we're just going to reinstall all of our factory hardware. I'm going to start with those 7mm screws on each side. And then I've got that 10mm nut in the middle here. And then we've got those 2 10mm nuts in these holes on each side. And now we'll take our 10mm socket and tighten down all of those nuts, and then we'll switch to our 7 for the screws on the outside. And while we're over here, we'll put that plug back in, and then we'll do that same thing over here. And now lastly, we'll reinstall our trunk liner. So start with your release cable, slide that through the hole, and then we'll get these in next to hold it up. And then the cover for our latch. And then we're just down to all of our push clips. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Speedform Dark Horse style rear spoiler in gloss black for your 2024 and newer Mustang Fastback. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.